The path that leads to truth is littered with the bodies of the ignorant. Miyamoto Musashi. My friends, ignorance means you don't know. How do you change that? You learn. We ask you to spend 10 to 15 minutes each and every day here with us, learning the nuances of the market, listening to the special trainings we attach every day in the show notes that you can get by subscribing for free at chartingwealth.com, reading our book, Charting Your Way to Wealth, practice trading again and again and again, using the trade worksheets, filling out your daily market worksheet every day, and your weekly market worksheet once a week when we do the weekly review and forecast on Fridays. You do all that during the course of your 10 to 15 minutes in the market each and every day. This becomes 15 minutes out of your day every day for the rest of your life. How long will it take? It will take as long as it takes. That is the way things work. That is the way of the world. That is learning by doing. If you can't devote that time, if you think there's a get-rich-quick scheme out there somewhere in the stock market, I can assure you, you are wrong if it is a get-rich-quick scheme. There is no such thing. There are scams. There's plenty of way to lose your money, plenty of way to gamble it away stupidly. Not what we teach. You're in the wrong place. Go somewhere else to some hyped-up website where someone will screw you. That is not what we are about here. 10 to 15 minutes a day, that's all we ask. Let's jump into these markets. We see stocks are down. We see bonds and gold up. We see Bitcoin down. Let's start with the S&P 500. Now, I am traveling today, and it is very hard for me to see on the screen in the light I am in. Let me adjust a little bit. 0.03%. The S&P was just barely down today. Hard for me to see the red on this screen. Sorry about that. What do we see happening as far as price goes? Well, the price percent oscillator is flat. Derivative oscillator heading up. Again, we still have a green up candle forming. Not a big one. Price is above the weekly trend line. So we're still watching that move as it plays out on the big chart. Look at the 2-day price percent oscillator flat. But again, we have the first, when we look at this latest candle, we see that the prior one to it was a green spinning top. That would be the first one for the week. That encompasses both Friday and Monday. And then this latest one, Tuesday and Wednesday, we can see is a green up candle. Price again is above. We're going to need to redraw our 2-day trend line at some point. See if we can draw a decent one. Remember, with trend lines, what are you trying to do? You're trying to connect 3 or more candles. I've managed to do that. We see that price is above the 2-day and the weekly. Price percent oscillator flat, derivative oscillator losing upward momentum. Half-day chart. Again, up in the morning, down a little in the afternoon. Like we said, down just very little. We see the price percent oscillator pulling away from the red signal line. And again, we will continue to follow this, watch the S&P as this week continues to progress, seeing where it's going to continue to go. All things being equal, what? The market tends to move in the direction of the weekly chart, which is still up, along with the 2-day chart, which is our intermediate chart. We go to the Qs, down 0.34%. Again, green up candle. We see that the price percent oscillator is fairly laminated right there. Let's see, is it still above? It is still above the red signal line. Derivative oscillators positive, gaining momentum. We do have a green top. Price is right there at the weekly trend line. Look at the 2-day. It's flat, but again, nice green up candle. What we want to see, would like to see it knocking up higher highs than previously. Previous high was 342.23. 342.15. Well, that's pretty darn close. So price percent oscillator flat, derivative oscillator positive, but losing some momentum. We would also like to redraw our trend line on the 2-day chart. Also, there we go. We're able to do that. We can, of course, see that price is above the weekly and the 2-day. Remember, we had that weekly vertical crossover into this last week. We see on the half-day chart, though, down movement in the morning. Price not quite getting to the 2-day trend line in its drop as far as where the wick went. Price percent oscillator is pulling away from the red signal line, heading down. Derivative oscillator has gone from green to red throughout the course of the day. So we'll continue to watch and see how these things move along and build. But that is where we are. Some weakening in stocks, but again, still on the positive. As always, your profit and loss bands should be applied. You set those, of course, before you enter any trade. In fact, I'm going to put at the end of today's training the profit and loss band training. You'll see that at the end of today's video. Please take that and use our profit and loss bands. We developed those, found them to be very helpful. You will too. You need that training. Take it. It's at the end of your show note. It's the end of today's video, rather, not in the show notes. Today's video, so everybody's going to get that. Now let's leave stocks, go to bonds. Bonds up for the day, 0.06%. And of course, we had that weekly vertical crossover in bond. Well, sorry, we're developing that weekly vertical crossover. Almost said we have, because it is trying to pull away from the red signal line. We will be watching and hoping that the week ends with that weekly vertical crossover. We have a red spinning top right now. Open box means a slowdown in the up movement, but it is up for the day just a little bit. Price percent oscillator heading up. Derivative oscillator positive, gaining momentum. 2-day flattening a little bit out on the price percent oscillator. Derivative oscillator losing some momentum. Red down candle sitting right there on the 2-day trend line. We'd like to not see that trend line violated. We'd like to see things bounce off that, continue to move up. Price percent oscillator stay positive so we can get to the end of the week and have that weekly vertical crossover confirmed. Half-day chart, what do we see there? Again, we have seen 2 days of down movement. Again, price trundling down there. Derivative oscillator gaining downward momentum. Price percent oscillator heading down, penetrating the 2-day trend line on that half-day chart. So we'll wait, watch, and see how bonds continue to make it through the week. Hopefully, we won't see a penetration of that 2-day trend line on the 2-day chart. Lastly, in our charts that we chart each and every day before we get to Bitcoin, you'll see gold is up for the day, 0.29%. That is where we had the other weekly vertical crossover. As we have now progressed into this week, we did have an up day, 0.29%. We have a red open box candle. That's a slowdown in the up movement. Price is above that weekly trend line. Price percent oscillator pulling away from the red signal line. Derivative oscillator going up. 2-day chart. We see the 2-day is flattening on the price percent oscillator. Derivative oscillator losing some momentum. We have a doji there. Means lots of indecision. And again, as we watch, we can see that this latest 2-day candle has pulled through the prior decent 2-day trend line. We saw some slowing in that prior 2-day candle representing Friday of last week and this Monday. So again, we'll keep our eye on gold, pay close attention to this 2-day chart. The nice thing is the price percent oscillator still going up. What do we see on the half-day chart? Down in the morning, up some in the afternoon. That gave us the up movement for the day. However, price percent oscillator on the shortest chart of all, still negative. Derivative oscillator losing some downward momentum at the end of the day. So we'll keep our eye on gold. Weekly vertical crossover still in effect. Lastly, we go to Bitcoin. Bitcoin down for the day. And again, I'm having a hard time reading that. Let me skip back to the weekly, and that should help me. I'm sorry, the gold, it is down 0.78%. There we go. Now I can come back to Bitcoin. Down 0.78%. Remember, as we've said throughout the course of this week, last week, all the way back when we had that weekly vertical crossover heading down at the end of March, We still had 3 weeks of up movement, but it's really started to pull the stops out. Bitcoin down, price percent oscillator heading down, derivative oscillator gaining downward momentum. And as we say, all things being equal, the markets tend to move in the direction of the largest chart. That's the weekly, and that is down today on Bitcoin. Also down, we do have a green, solid green candle, which is a slowdown in the down movement. That price percent oscillator and derivative oscillator still heading down. And on the half-day chart, we can see where things were up in the morning and then burning off some of that steam in the afternoon. Price percent oscillator heading up, derivative oscillator gaining some upward momentum. But again, my friends, that's only on the half-day chart. The 2-day and the weekly are still weak, W-E-A-K. That's where we are as we end the day. Thank you so much for being with us. Always a pleasure to have you. If you don't have our book, we have an autographed copy waiting for you. Thank you, Patreon supporters. I will be getting out to you tonight or tomorrow after we go through the 500 stocks in the S&P 500, looking for you 10 up weekly vertical crossovers and 10 weekly down vertical crossovers. We will be looking for them for you and getting those out to you. Just another benefit of being a Patreon supporter. In addition to the special trainings we put out for you guys, our 3-part series, which is Options Made Simple, the Charting Wealth Way, and of course, once a month, our live question and answer call-in session where we attempt to answer all of your questions, help you chart your favorite stocks and ETFs for practice trading. God bless. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.